on to the Water Services Amendment Bill, order for report in final stages. Firstly, I want to call on the Minister for the Environment, on the Minister of State at the Department of the Taoiseach, to move the technical motion that the report stage be taken now. Is that agreed? It's agreed. Okay. We move on. Right. Amendment number 1 to 6 in the names of Deputy Coppinger, Murphy, Barry, Boyd, Barrett, Kenny and Smith are been ruled out of order. Amendment 7 is out of order. Amendment 8 arises out of committee proceedings. This amendment is in the name of Deputies Coppinger, Murphy, Barry, Boyd, Barrett, Kenny and Breed Smith. Now, Deputy Murphy.
There's a point of order, firstly, about the ruling out of the amendment.
No, we can't take points of order at this point. It seems to me,
I mean, the fact that the ones that have been ruled out of order on the basis that...
we can't, I'm sorry, I don't want to be awkward, but we can't take a point of order and we can't get into a discussion about amendments that are out of order. They're out of order and therefore we can't have a discussion.
But I don't understand how they're out of order because they're in conflict with the principle of the bill, when all they do is suggest that the Commission should discuss water poverty.
Fine. If you don't understand, if you want to come to my office, I'll arrange for the appropriate staff and officials to brief you on why it's out of order.
Can you not tell the Dáil?
No, there's no provision here.
But the problem, you're going to push ahead now and we'll vote on this and then it'll be through, so then it'll be too late.
Yes.
Like, I've never seen such a narrow interpretation of the rules of order, really. Anything we're proposing, like we've accepted in the letter Ruth sent to you earlier, we've accepted that many of them, the ones that you ruled out on the basis of imposing or increasing a charge upon the revenue, we accept that. We don't agree with the standing order, but we accept that that's a fair interpretation or a reasonable interpretation. But in terms of the others, I don't see how, for example, calling for a suspension of water metering, how is that not relevant to the provisions of bill or in conflict with the principle of the bill? How adding in that the committee should deal with the question of water poverty, how is that not relevant to the bill or how is it in conflict with the bill? How including the option of discussing the abolition of Irish water being discussed? We're simply adding things for the committee to discuss. How possibly does it contradict the bill itself?
We could talk about El Nino if we wanted to, because just about anything can be relevant to the subject of water. No. However, it's not. The points you're raising are not relevant to the subject matter of the piece of legislation.
They are, Ceann Comhairle.
Well, I'm afraid they're not.
Ceann Comhairle, can I read them?
Wait, sorry.
It's very unfair to the people of Ireland for you to rule this out of order, because this is.
I am acting in accordance. I'm acting in accordance with standing orders. I am bound by standing orders.
Towards those who want to hear this debate.
Well, I'm bound by standing orders. If you don't like the standing orders, Deputy Smith, you can change
standing orders. It's your interpretation of the standing orders.
My interpretation of standing orders is correct. Now, would you please resume your seat? No, you're deliberate. Excuse me. Please. Do not accuse me of political bias. Resume your seat, please. Resume your seat. Now, thank you. It is not provided for in standing orders that the members interrogate the chair or no. Resume your seat. We're going to proceed with those matters that are in order. Okay. Thank you very much. Well, right.
It's not fair the way you're just saying, shut up, we can't debate this.
Well, I haven't told anyone, I haven't used that phraseology, but we must stick to the standing orders. I didn't write them. They have been there for quite a while, and the House has not changed them, and until such a time as the House changes them, then I will implement them. That's it. Now, do you want to speak? Do you or do you not want to speak? Do you or do you not want to speak? Do you or do you not want to speak on it? No. Yes, Deputy White Barrett.
Could we suspend the House for 10 minutes and have somebody from your office explain to us this?
Seriously, I mean, we're making a genuine point that we do not understand the interpretation of standing orders here. We accept the ones that have been ruled out on the basis of the charge in the state that is compliant with standing orders. We do not understand how some of these others have been ruled out of order. We do not understand that interpretation of standing orders.
They were ruled out.
No, Minister, these are extra ones. These relate to effectively the terms of reference of the committee, what the committee would deal with. We brought them in after committee stage. We understand the ones that we ruled out of committee stage. We have other ones here, and we don't understand why they've been ruled out of order. And I think it's reasonable that we have an explanation, and the same applies to Deputy.
You're talking about Amendment 11 to 15 as being inclusive, as being the ones that you want.
I don't mind one way or the other, to be honest with you, but I mean, we are straying into dangerous territory here. When we consider legislation in this House, the Bills Office makes a ruling in terms of whether amendments are in order or whether they're not. If we start undoing those rulings now on the floor of the House, then I think it's. I mean, we either. Why is it ridiculous, Deputy?
The floor of the House should decide these things, not some invisible body in the Bills Office. It's
But the floor, Deputy. But Deputy Coppinger, the floor of the House will make the decision on these matters.
An unelected civil servant is making these decisions.
Not true. Not true. Not true. And you shouldn't make reflections on the staff of the houses.
To this unelected civil servant, obviously yes, there is.
No.
Well, obviously it's true. You must think people are completely naive that you won't accept that, for example, water metering, which is linked with Irish water, can't be a subject of this water committee. And that some unelected civil servant decided that. No, I'm sorry, they didn't.
Deputy Coppinger, please resume your seat. It is not a matter for the Minister to decide. The Minister has no role, good, bad or indifferent, in deciding what amendment is in order or is not in order. Recommendations are made, recommendations are considered, and in this instance, in accordance with the standing orders well established in this House, these amendments have been ruled out of order. They are out of order, and it is not now open to us to revisit the matter, and therefore we will get on with the debate. We will get on with the debate.
This is the most restrictive interpretation I've ever seen. How is it possible?
If your purpose is to deliberately frustrate the work of if your purpose is to deliberately frustrate the work of the House, then I
genuinely, we want to debate these amendments, which are about the expert. No, it's not at all. We don't want to. Genuinely, right? We want the expert committee to be able to look at the question of water poverty. We want the expert committee to be able to look at the issue of suspension of water charges and suspension of water metering. We wanted the expert committee to be able to look at the question of reforms. That's all completely fair enough and in line with the idea that we have. The essence of the bill is suspension of the water charges and establishing a committee to look into it. Right? That's what the essence of the bill is. And all where those amendments 11 to 15 are doing is saying these are things that the committee should also look at that are clearly part of that process. And then also amendments 20 and 2 relate to the suspension of water metering, which again, it isn't separate to the purpose of the bill. It clearly relates to water charges, the imposition of water charges. If the water meters go hand in hand with that, I don't understand how it's separate. I understand the government may oppose it, that's fine. I understand Fianna Fáil may oppose it, that's fine, but I don't understand why we can't debate it and vote on it.
Well, you can't debate it now because it's not in order.
As somebody who's brand new to all of these procedures, the Bills Office make the recommendations of what gets ruled in and what gets ruled out, but on Ceann Comhairle either accepts or rejects those recommendations.
Exactly.
So we are appealing to your better nature to explain to us why did you reject or why did you accept the recommendations to rule out discussion on water metering and the question of water poverty. Why did you accept that? That's all we're asking here. We're not asking we're asking for an explanation.
I am not going to come in here day in, day out and give to you or any other deputy an explanation as to why I make a decision in respect of a particular question. That's here. There are no such provisions. It has never been the case. Resume your seat for a second. No Ceann Comhairle that I know of in the past has had to come in here and explain why he or she, as the case may be, made a particular ruling. I made the ruling based upon the information provided to me and based upon my understanding of the amendment as proposed. The bottom line is, it is out of order. If you want to raise these matters in some other way, then I suggest you find some other way. But at this point, I want to get on with the legislation. We've been having this debate for 10 minutes. We can have it for another half hour, but we won't arrive at any different conclusion than the one we were at the time we started. So can we please now?
You could have explained to us why these crucial issues for the vast majority of the population were ruled out of order. If they were insignificant for the people out there and the people who elected us, then I wouldn't be asking you this. These are very significant issues. For many people.
Can we get on with amendment number 8, please?
Even half the side of this house were, to be honest about it, they're significant for them also.
Can we get on with amendment number 8, please? Does anyone want to speak to amendment number 8? Yes, Deputy Murphy, please.
And 9. It's very unfortunate that this is the only amendment we're able to debate, and that such a restrictive interpretation has been put on the standing orders. What amendments 8 and 9, which are linked, propose to do is that the membership of this so-called expert commission, so-called neutral commission, will be subject to a vote in this House. I think that is absolutely and perfectly reasonable. Why does the government not want to have a vote on it in the House, as presumably the Minister will speak to? Let's see. But I think it's because precisely the purpose of the exercise was explained by Joe O'Toole, that people voted a certain way. Leinster House is not prepared to grasp that particular nettle, so we have to find a solution that will have enough sugar on it to make the medicine go down easily. Because the purpose is a political exercise to try to come back and reimpose the question of water charges, as well as maintaining Irish water. The problem for Joe O'Toole, of course, was that he gave the game away. That was the problem. It was why he had to go. Ironically, I'm sure the Minister has seen the interview Joe O'Toole did in the Irish Times on Saturday. He gave the game away again, where he explained. He was asked, did the Minister for Housing, Planning and Local Government, Simon Coveney, know of his views in advance? And Joe O'Toole says, I told him what they were. He showed great confidence in me. I'd say he did, Minister. If he told you, did he tell you that his view was that the purpose of the Commission was a political exercise to put sugar on it to make sure that the medicine goes down easily? The game was given away yet again. This Commission is rigged, in my opinion. This Commission is set up to deliver a certain outcome, which is to recommend a continuation of domestic water charges. It's a complete sham. Let's look at the membership of the committee. So obviously we've seen Joe O'Toole, he's now replaced by Kevin Duffy. So what? You could replace him with anyone in the world. You could replace him with Kofi Annan. It wouldn't change the essence of it.
The Commission and the committee are two different things. So maybe you might just take a look at what we're proposing to do.
So then, but then you're not referencing. Then the Commission isn't then referenced in the bill. That wasn't clear, obviously. But the Commission itself isn't referenced whatsoever then in the bill.
Both the arguments, just to be helpful to the House, are in relation to the Oireachtas committee that we're proposing.
Well, it's in relation to the committee that is referred to in the bill.
There's no mention of the Commission in either.
Well, in that case, there's no mention of the Commission in the bill whatsoever. But the Commission has just been set up without reference whatsoever to the House. Well, in which case, evidently there should be a vote on it.
No,
it's obviously. Oh, it was an agreement between. Right.
To facilitate the formation of a government to allow you to stay as long as you have stayed, or you've been out of your ear longer than the rest.
Right, so it's all a deal between Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. Thanks very much. Yeah. Here we see it. Oh yeah.
All right.
Very good.
Okay. Members. One speaker only, please. One speaker only, and please stick to the amendment.
No, I think it's very useful if Deputy Cowan could be wound up and continue to.
I know. Don't be inspired by being wound up.
The reality that
the deputy shouldn't allow himself to be led along like that. The deputy should concentrate on the amendment and speak to the amendment.
Water charges
three others behind you want to speak as well, deputy, and there are three others on this side as well. Proceed.
Well, let me speak then about some of the other members of the Commission.
What standing order is that?
Proceed, please.
Let me speak about some of the other members of the Commission, which I accept now. To be honest, we wondered why in the bill it's referred to as a committee rather than a commission, but we presumed it was a reference to the expert commission. The fact that it's not given any democratic legitimacy whatsoever, whatever. So let me.
With respect, you didn't assume that. We did a detailed conversation in committee in relation to what exactly is being proposed. So maybe you don't understand the difference between the Commission and the Committee, but I think others in your group
I think the key question that people will be asking, which is the point of our amendment, is why there isn't a reference to the Dáil, why the Dáil doesn't get a vote of the members of the committee, why we have a committee set up. So I'm speaking to the amendment.
Proceed.
So let's look at some of the members of the Commission.
Now, I just want to be fair to everybody. I just want to make something clear. You must speak to the amendment.
Yes.
You can't go around the countryside and give a history lesson and a geography lesson and a genealogy lesson as well. You can't do all those things. So I know you're a nice guy and I'm very fond of you now, but not that fond of you now. So just keep to the amendment.
You only lost by one vote there.
I know, one vote is enough.
So at one we have Dr. Xavier Leflevre from the OECD, obviously an agency that has consistently pushed an agenda of user fees, and he has written that, and I quote, water pricing can be used to signal scarcity and to create incentives for efficient water use in all sectors. Social consequences are best addressed through well-designed tariff structures or targeted measures.
Sorry, Deputy. I'm sorry, Deputy. I'm sorry. Look,
we're talking about the amendment here.
Can I just intervene?
Yes.
To your advantage.
Thank you.
It would be much less stress on yourself. It would be much less stress and hardship on yourself to just concentrate on the amendment, speak to the amendment. There are three more speakers behind you who wish to speak, and there are three more speakers over here. But look, you must stick to the amendment. You can't go around the country. It's not a scenic tour. It's not a scenic tour now. So please stick to the amendment. You know yourself what you have to do.
The amendment's on the commission.
Another is Peter Peacock, who has previously who favours charges and boasts that consumer forums can help lower prices. Another is Miss Sarah Hendry, who's an academic lawyer who teaches a module on how price setting can achieve social and economic objectives. Another includes Grete Nottelman, a strategy consultant with WaterNet, a Dutch water company that charges for both tap water and discharge of wastewater. And yet another is Bill Emery, a former director of Ofwat, the British regulatory authority that presided over a privatised water system. So the essence of the amendment, and that's fair enough that the bill actually is referring to the committee. I don't personally think that was clear, but is that this expert commission should be subject to a vote in the Oireachtas, in the Dáil. I think it's absolutely clear. The fact that this is set up, that we're presented with what is a sham committee which has a rigged outcome, which is loaded with people who are connected to water privatisation, whether academically or through industry or regulatory capacities. The fact that that's set up in advance of any discussion here, in advance of the bill, I think is a fundamental democratic deficit.
Deputy? Yeah, thank you, Deputy. 8 and 9 have been discussed together. Yes, the next speaker is Deputy Pete Smith.
Well, before the Minister responds, before you respond, Minister, if I could just add my tuppence halfpence worth to this, what is a bit of a sham debate, to be honest with you, because clearly what was intended, it was to put in an amendment that would allow the Commission be elected by this House, albeit that if we voted against them that we would lose. I'm not going to repeat their names, I'm not going to say anything, but I do want to say... Sorry, I'm speaking. Minister, I'm speaking.
No exchanges other than to the Chair. Sorry about that.
Right, well, through the Chair.
I want to say to you, what amendment are you speaking to now?
9.
9. And can you read that one out for me, please?
It says... sorry, hold on now. I'm after going back to the bill, so I have to go back to my amendment now. In page 4, lines 29 and 3, to delete by either House of the Oireachtas or by both Houses of the Oireachtas and substitute whose composition and membership shall be approved by a vote in Dáil Éireann. Okay, so I just want to...
I'm calling you now after this. Yeah. I'm going to call the Minister to clarify, in order it might be of some benefit, when you have spoken.
When I have spoken, I would love to clarify. And you can speak again, you can speak again as well. Yeah, I'd love to clarify when I've spoken.
I'm sorry. Look, we can't have everybody. Deputy, will you proceed, and I will call on the Minister then to respond, which might be helpful.
Okay, it might be helpful, but I tell you, Minister, whatever you say and whatever anyone else in this House says, at this stage, it is going to be clear to the public that this is a complete set-up to ignore the real issues behind the big debacle about the water charges, to ignore the real issues that got over 90 TDs elected in this House. And those issues are the ones that were covered by Deputy Murphy and that were ruled out of order. The issues of water poverty, the issues of water metering, the composition of the Commission. We are not going to debate the issues that people want to hear about.
If they're not
this
part
is
of the
a setup,
amendment, you
and all
can't.
we're doing is obfuscating and arguing about the difference between committee or commission.
All right.
Most people wouldn't even know how the difference between them anyway. So what you're trying to do is to stage manage something which is about trying to hoodwink the public, and they will not be fooled.
I'm not trying to do anything.
Instead of that, the public will be back out marching against this awful position that you have put them in on the 17th of September, because what you're doing in this, Dáil, is completely wrong.
I'm sorry, Deputy. I don't wish to do anything. I'm trying to follow the orders as best I can. And what I'm saying to you is that you're beginning to wander now. Deputy Paul Murphy wandered around in a scenic tour of the countryside as well, and you're heading that direction also.
I am not heading. I am heading in the direction of making an argument.
Please don't go there now. But I want to call. I'm going to call on the Minister for a brief response.
Okay, you're shutting down any discussion. It's very clear to everybody. Discussion, shut down.
You'll have all the time in the world
we're being
to respond
reasonable, but
to
you're
what
not.
the Minister has to say by way of clarification, and then we have a whole lot of people who want to speak, and we didn't call upon them. Minister, Minister.
Okay, Ceann Comhairle, can I just clarify a number of things? First of all, we're at report and final stages of this short piece of legislation. There's been an opportunity to debate many of the issues that Deputy Murphy, Deputy Coppinger and Deputy Murphy have already raised. At second stage, that's why we had a second stage. There was then a further discussion at committee stage where a number of these issues were raised. So the suggestion that this issue hasn't been debated and discussed is nonsense. It has been debated and discussed. I've also had questions down in relation to the suspension of metering as well, and I gave a very clear answer in relation to it. So I have answered that question. But that is not what is in the legislation that we're talking about here. And secondly, just to reiterate for the benefit of the House, since the Commission has been raised, what we are doing here is we are setting aside a 9-month period where charging will be suspended, where essentially we will freeze the process to create a space for work to be done in terms of how we proceed. And in the first 5 months of that 9-month period, an expert commission will be set up, which is not dealt with in the legislation, but was agreed to in terms of the setting up of that commission. That commission will make recommendations and a report. We will then have an Oireachtas committee set up, which is what both of these amendments refer to. The committee will be set up in the normal way in the House. It won't be chosen by the government alone. It will be fully representative of this House, and it will be set up in the normal way. And that committee will obviously look at the recommendations of the Commission, but will make its own recommendations and make its own judgment in terms of what is the appropriate way forward. And we have not specified the terms of reference, per se, for everything and all of the work that committee of the House will do. And the two amendments that are in order here, Ceann Comhairle, both, first one in relation to Amendment 8 by the Anti-Austerity Alliance and People Before Profit, amendment that proposes to prevent the establishment of an Oireachtas committee tasked with making recommendations on the funding of water services provided to dwellings from being established until after the enactment of the Water Services Amendment Bill 2016. So, Deputy Murphy, we are not talking about the Commission here. We're talking about the setting up of an Oireachtas committee. Deputy, I have spoken about the Commission on many occasions, and we have had an opportunity to debate it, but we are debating a piece of legislation here which does not provide specifically for that Commission, and you know it. Amendment number 9 then suggests. Amendment number 9 is again the Anti-Austerity Alliance People Before Profit amendment that proposes to restrict approval of the membership of the composition of the proposed Oireachtas committee tasked with making recommendations on the funding of water services provided to dwellings to Dáil and not to either house or both houses of the Oireachtas. In other words, what it is doing is it wants to restrict the membership of that committee solely to members of Dáil Éireann and not Seán Éireann. That is what's being proposed here, which I fundamentally disagree with. I disagree with both, actually. We shouldn't be deciding now when or how that Oireachtas committee is set up. There's plenty of time for that over the next 5 months. So can we please deal, Ceann Comhairle, with the issues that these two amendments are dealing with? The two amendments, the first amendment...
Minister, to be fair to me, I'll deal with those.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. So we'll follow on that basis.
So in relation to amendment number 8, what's being proposed here is that the committee couldn't be set up before the enactment of the bill, and it's up to the House how and when they set that committee up and the composition of it, and there's plenty of time to do that, and that is actually catered for in the legislation by referring to a committee set up by the House of the Oireachtas. Amendment number 8 isn't necessary in our view, and that committee, as I say, has plenty of time to be set up and will be representative of the Oireachtas. In relation to amendment number 9, I don't understand why you want to prevent senators being on that Oireachtas committee. I think that this legislation will be considered and passed by both houses of the Oireachtas, and I think a committee that is looking into all of the issues around water and all of their controversy and politics, as well as what we're required to do under the obligations that we have both nationally and internationally, and all of that complexity. I think if we're going to make decisions that have credibility, well then they need to have credibility across both houses. And I don't see why you would want to exclude the Senate from that process. And I think we're more than able to set up a committee that represents both houses of the Oireachtas to be able to make an informed choice.
Thank you, Minister. Now, Deputy Richard Boyd Barrett, I want to include everybody. I don't want one group of people to monopolise the whole debate. I want people to stick to the amendments, and that's strictly in accordance with the rules of the House. And that's to be fair to everybody else, because all the other members have an entitlement to say their few words as well. After a time, I know you're listed as well. I know, I'm aware of that. The person who... just let me explain that to you. No, I'm sorry. Everybody is entitled to speak.
I'd like to speak on my amendment, and so would the other people who bothered.
But you can speak on the amendment. But the person... no, I'm sorry, Deputy. I'm sorry. Just listen for a second, Deputy. I'm sorry for a second, Deputy. Now, listen. The person who moved the amendment can speak 3 times. Every other person can speak twice. And the second time is strictly time limited. And that will be applied. Wait a second now. If the intention is to frustrate the rules of the House, I'm sorry, Deputy, through the chair, deputies, please, Minister, please. Through the chair, I want to say this. I'm going to enforce the rules now in rapid fashion. Unless there's some compliance with the rules, that has to be done. Deputy Richard Boyd Barrett, stick to the amendments, please.
Sure. And on a point of order, Comhairle, you outlined that apart from the proposer, the first speaker, that everybody else got to speak twice. Isn't that right?
That's right.
How long for the first intervention?
Well, the first intervention is subject to the
There's no limit,
by the chair.
There's no limit.
Chair. Oh, you can't speak forever. I've been ejected from the House myself by attempting to speak for too long on the First Amendment.
Are you telling me there's a limit?
I want to say.
Are you telling me there's a limit?
There is a limit, yes. You can't go on forever.
Where in standing orders is that?
You can't go on forever, you can't repeat, and you cannot stonewall.
Where's the time limit?
This is not the second
Where's
stage.
The time limit?
I'm sorry, Deputy, resume your seat for a second. You're a nice guy as well, and I'm very fond of you, but you're going to have to sit down for a moment while I tell you just... I'm sorry, Deputy. Please resume your seat. I know your intention is to frustrate the House. Deputy, please resume your seat for a moment. Resume your seat for a moment, please. I thought you were going to be cooperative, or that you were going to assist the chair in the running of the House, because I thought that was your intention. Everybody will get their opportunity to speak. And within reason, if they stick to the amendments, they will speak, and I won't intervene with you. But however, However, if you're going to use the amendments as a vehicle to frustrate the House and to do a filibuster that would be more appropriate to the second stage of an open debate that had no time limits, then I will intervene. And I want to say this, that I would appeal to you now, Deputy, please proceed in accordance with the orders of the House. Deputy, have you completed your first intervention?
No, I have not.
Oh, I thought you had.
It was a point of order. And
no, well, there's no more points of order now. You've had my order.
No, I asked you a question and you didn't answer it.
I did answer it.
Is there a time limit on the first intervention in standing orders?
There could be.
There isn't.
There could be. Officially. Now,
I tell you, somebody in the clerk's office should inform the
I want to just inform you then, so please proceed. There is no time limit. But if you depart from the subject matter of the debate, there is a time limit. Now,
there's no time limit. That's all.
Unless you depart from the subject matter of the amendment.
All you had to say. And I hope the same warnings will go to all speakers in advance of their speech.
Please proceed to amendments 8 or 9, whichever you wish, or both together.
The principle behind our amendments, Minister, is to vindicate the idea of democracy and the sovereignty of this House as the directly elected chamber representing the people of this country. That's the purpose of these amendments. And it's very, very clear. It does not, as you suggested, seek to exclude senators. What it says is that the composition of the committee should be decided by the Dáil. And this is in line with an argument you understand fully and you should not try and misrepresent, which is we believe this House is mandated on the question of water charges. And we think it is an abuse of democracy for anybody other than the directly elected representatives of this House to decide how the issue of water charges is dealt with. Because we think there is a clear democratic mandate. We believe that you are trying to worm your way out of it with Fianna Fáil. Right? That's the point of this. We do not accept that expert groups or committees set up to make recommendations back to this House should be set up by any other body than this House. Because that's what democracy means. And it is clear that you don't like democracy and Fianna Fáil don't like democracy when it doesn't suit them. But it is an abuse of that democratic principle that we are trying to rectify with these amendments. And let me make it clear, if you read our amendment, it does not say we can't select, this House can select senators. It can decide. It can decide whoever we want to put on commissions or committees. And that's what we're arguing, and you know damn well that's what we're arguing. And we do not think it is acceptable that essentially you are setting up a process to, over a period of time, undermine the mandate that was given to this House, that is clear and unequivocal, because of a side deal you happen to have done with Fianna Fáil. So that is the point. And you should respond to that point. And you see, as far as I'm concerned, the public needs to know how the game is played. It shouldn't be a game, but it is a game. And the game is, when we can't win something in open public debate, we rig the game. We rig the game. In side deals. I'm sorry, Deputy. I'm sorry. Between different political parties.
There's nothing in the amendment that talks about rigging the game.
No, it doesn't. I'm saying
right. So
this amendment is designed to prevent the rigging of the game.
By your group, Deputy.
Yeah.
And I ask you again to please adhere to the amendment.
No, I am.
Or two amendments.
I am telling you what the purpose of the amendment is to prevent the rigging of the game. We believe that this legislation, as put forward by the government, is open to the game being rigged. We are attempting to put into it an amendment that will prevent the game being rigged. And that is entirely relevant to the purpose of this legislation, unless the government want to tell us that they wouldn't be worried about the game being rigged. But I'm sure in the new politics, in the new political landscape, you would be as concerned as we are about the possibility of games being rigged. And of course we all know games have been rigged for a long time on many, many issues. And it would be diverting from the bill, Ceann Comhairle, to enumerate them, so I won't. But I'll suffice it to say, games have been rigged in the past. So many of them. With devastating cost to ordinary citizens. So we're asking that as part of the new politics, the new political landscape, that this House decides, and it decides in an open and transparent way. We don't believe there's a need for a commission at all. We would like it dealt with by this House. Full stop. Full stop. And that is what we, insofar as you have set your face against that, and have decided to set up a commission, we at least want this House to have some democratic say about how all of this is done. That's what we're asking for. You don't want that because you don't believe in democracy. That's the truth about it. Or you want to undermine a democratic decision.
Thank you, Deputy. I now call on Deputy